Has the United States president ever told the truth without any political fabrication or hunky feel good message, just the plain truth? On July 15th, 1979, Jimmy Carter gave the cold blooded truth to 60 million American viewers. There had been an ongoing energy crisis in the United States with cars lining up over miles just to get their gas tank filled. There was a lack of trust and faith in the government at the time, and Carter knew that this was prevalent. Jimmy Carter's crisis of confidence speech remains one of the last times an American president has leveled with the American people. Being honest and vulnerable was one of the reasons he was not elected to a second term, and why his opposite Ronald Reagan took charge for the next 8 years, with truths being told very far in between. The American people salivated in this made-up utopia about how great America was, which didn't even exist. Carter initially was elected for his down-to-earth, one-of-us attitude that was true as upbringing as a peanut farmer, but quickly the American people turned against this. As Jack Nicholson says in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth, and the American people could not. Carter's speech ran for 33 minutes. It begins with him quoting with people who met with him at Camp David over the previous 10 days, and many people were not positive with him. The opening of the speech is vulnerable and open as he relays quotes. He says, "It's clear that the true problems of our nation are much deeper than gasoline lines or energy shortages, deeper than inflation or recession. And I realize more than ever that as president, I need your help." He also mentions quotes that he'd written in his notebook about him, such as, "Mr. President, you are not leading this nation, you are just managing the government. You do not see people enough anymore." These are quotes he does not disagree with, and he openly states his criticisms of himself to viewers. With this, he establishes a trust with the audience, knowing that he has not been perfect, and he hears their criticisms. As the speech continues, slowly and steadily he moves into the heart of the issue. He states, "I want to speak to you first tonight about a subject even more serious than energy inflation. I want to talk to you right now about a fundamental threat to American democracy. I do not mean our political and civil liberties, they will endure, and I do not refer to the outward strength of America, a nation that is at peace tonight everywhere around the world and with unmatched economic and military might. The threat is nearly invisible in ordinary ways. It is a crisis of confidence." Instead of simply preaching to the American people that they need to do better with energy, he takes time to talk about the deep moral issues he sees in the country that plague American life. Many people are turned off by the brash honesty because it was and is to this day unheard of for a public official to talk like this. As he continues in his vulnerable but stately manner, he says, "It is a crisis that strikes at the heart and soul and spirit of our national will. We can see this crisis in the growing doubt about the meaning of our own lives and in the loss of a unity of purpose for our nation." Carter was trying after his best, after much deliberation, after he canceled his speech July 4th, to get something deeper than just the current materialist issues. He took 10 days after July 4th at Camp David to discuss issues with all sorts of people across the country. After this time, he comes back and delivers this heartfelt speech and line that strikes the core of the American conscience to this day. This honesty was initially well received, but after a few days, the press ate him up, and Carter himself even fired much of his cabinet, which was a shock to the people and took away a bit from what he said. The truth of his words were taken from him by the new insurgents of American exceptionalism. Ronald Reagan saw an opportunity to turn everything Carter said on its head. This speech became a campaign fodder for Reagan after he unseated Carter. He says, "I find no national malice," he said as he began his bid to unseat Carter. "I find nothing wrong with the American people." The reaction to his speech in the long run ran against the exact point Carter was trying to make. We ended up turning against each other and avoiding the issues that still face us to this day. Carter in the speech says, "We can manage the short-term shortages more effectively, and we will, but there are no short-term solutions to our long-range problems. There is simply no way to avoid sacrifice." Carter was worried about the future of this country, not just the short term. He says, "For the first time in history of our country, a majority of our people believe that the next 5 years will be worse than the past 5 years." The people elected after him were purely convinced of the short-term profit incentive and never thought about the future, which has come to haunt us to this day, and in our future with pressing issues such as climate change. Jimmy Carter was not a perfect president by any means, and I'm not arguing for his sake, but I will always respect the fact that he told the truth to the American people when they needed it most, even if we didn't listen and it cost him his political career. The crisis of confidence speech still lives in our culture today. When he said the doubt about the meaning of our own lives, a president has never talked like that before, and it's still a prescient statement that hits harder than anything any president has said after him. Carter was a misunderstood president, as seen in the reactions to his speech, and gets called one of the worst presidents in American history. In his own words, "I just don't want to bullshit the American people." Thank you.